On September 9, 2025, news came out that a body was found in an impounded Tesla that was registered to the name of a popular singer. That singer was David Anthony Burke, also known as d4vd. Now, when this news came out, nobody thought in the slightest that David was actually behind a cold-blooded murder. I mean, there's no way that a pop artist who recently skyrocketed to fame would just ruin their life by murdering someone, right? And I feel like most people had this mindset about the situation, that is, until 8 days later. On September 17th, TMZ released this article stating that authorities have identified the body in David's car. And that's when things got strange. The internet began to do a bunch of detective work once this news came out, and that's when it became clear that David obviously knew this girl. Based on everything I'm about to show you in this video, you're gonna see how insane it is that David still hasn't been arrested. Now, I don't want to bore you guys by giving you a 10-minute rundown of this dude's past, but I want to highlight his rise to fame because even before he possibly murdered someone, his story was very interesting. As a teenager, David was a Fortnite pro and he used to upload montages on this channel called David Gaming. But his videos would get copyrighted every time he uploaded them because he was using other people's music, and so out of frustration, this guy decided, you know what? I'm gonna stop using other people's music and make my own music so that I don't get copyrighted anymore. And so he did exactly that. He picked up his phone, downloaded this app called BandLab, and made a bunch of songs straight from his phone so that he could use them in these videos. No impressive equipment or anything, just a phone and probably some of those wired earbuds. Some of his earliest releases were songs like Run Away and You and I, and they caught a bit of attention, but in 2022, he dropped a song called Romantic Homicide, and that song would go on to change his life. After putting that song on his montages, he decided why not post a screen recording of this song on TikTok. And that TikTok of the song blew up overnight, which is what really sparked David's rise to fame. Do you guys realize how crazy that is? This guy was making music for shits and giggles because YouTube kept copywriting him, so he uses nothing but a phone to make music that you would think is mediocre, but no, it goes viral and it makes him famous. You have to be really talented to pull something like that off. Not long after, he drops another song called Here With Me, also made on a phone, which has already passed 1.2 billion streams. And from there, he starts linking up with huge names like SZA, opening up for her tour, landing songs on Netflix's Arcane, Amazon's Invincible, and even Call of Duty. And to top it all off, he even got his own Fortnite emote. You know you made it when you got your own Fortnite emote. He seemed like this incredibly likable person who had a super inspiring story. By 17, David signs a record deal with Darkroom and Interscope Records for a minimum advance of $3 million. The contract included an initial $500,000 payment followed by 2 more payments, with the total value potentially increasing to $6 million if the terms were fully met. His life had changed. He's a multi-millionaire at 17 years old with one of the coolest stories ever, living the dream. His fans love him. Everything is perfect. So what went wrong? On September 8th, 2025, employees noticed a foul stench coming from an impounded Tesla in a tow yard. The police were called, and when they opened the trunk, they found something truly horrific. A badly decomposed body of a teenage girl chopped up and wrapped into a plastic bag. And about a week later, the girl was identified to be Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who turned 15 years old one day before she was found dead. The craziest part is that she had actually been missing for well over a year. According to this missing person poster, she was last seen on April 5th, 2024 at 13 years old in Lake Elsinore, California. Her mom, who helped with the identification, also told authorities that she had a boyfriend named David. Now, what's insane is that before this body was identified and that first article came out, nobody believed it was David. I didn't even believe it was him myself. But at this time, when everybody was in denial, 2 Reddit comments were posted on a thread about this story, and everyone thought they were a complete lie. The first one says, "This guy is a weirdo. A close friend's little sister from the IE ran away last year, and this is who she was with. We think her sister was pimping her out. She was in 7th grade at the time. LAPD sweeped his place in the hills. I'm terrified that's who was in the car. Nobody has heard from her in months. I won't release names as she's still a minor, but she was from Lake Elsinore." That's when someone responds and says, "I strongly doubt this is true. He has a very public social media presence, and there's no one underage in his road crew. I have only heard good things about David from tour and venue staff. Don't post stuff like this with all this speculation going around. You're gonna feed witch hunts like that." That's when they respond saying, "It isn't speculation, it literally happened. I don't care if you've heard nice things about about him that has no impact on my personal negative experience. So yeah, as you can see, this person got downvoted and ridiculed for saying what they said, which is insane because in hindsight, it seems like they definitely knew something nobody else did. There was also this comment posted around the same time that says, "This guy is a P word from what I've heard. My sister, who is now in 9th grade, told me that he was dating an 8th grader. Let's call her C. C. Does that C stand out to you guys? And she would go on trips with him to LA. They're all in 9th grade now, and it turns out C's friends knew, and he would pay them to keep their mouth shut. C has been missing for over a month now, and no one knows her whereabouts. Definitely something strange going on." This person was also pretty much ignored or downvoted, but when the news came out and the girl had a first name that started with C, it also became clear that this probably wasn't some average Joe just making things up. Now, David is still on tour as all of this is popping up online. Matter of fact, up until the body was actually identified, he didn't seem to have any worries in the slightest. A body had just been found in a car that belonged to him. Meanwhile, he's still on tour singing his heart out, throwing Labubus into the crowd. He didn't seem to be fazed at all. Now, obviously, once the internet caught on and did a bunch of detective work, realizing, holy crap, he might have done it, news came out that his tour was being canceled. And honestly, this makes sense. With the stuff I'm about to show you coming out, there is absolutely no way he could have ever just continued as if nothing was going on. Even if he still technically wasn't a suspect and still isn't right now, at this point, even some of his biggest fans who were in denial about this whole situation are starting to realize he's probably guilty. And this is where that evidence continues to just really pile on. This screenshot from his Discord surfaced of him addressing a girl named Celeste. He says, "Celeste in here?" And she goes, "Hi, David, bark." And then there's this one where someone in his Discord says, "Pretty sure he dating right now." Someone goes, "What?" And they go, "Yeah, her name is Celeste." There's also this guy named Ponzalo in his Discord who seems to have known something was up for a long time. He goes, "I want to tell people about how David is a P word. Did y'all not know David likes kids?" Now keep in mind, this is before a body was even found. Nobody knew a thing at this point, and someone goes, "You aren't giving any proof, so that's all I'm gonna think." Ponzalo says this is the girl. She came back home in March, then went missing again in like April. As you can see in that screenshot, Ponzalo fully shows who he knows David is dating, and as you can see, it's the missing poster for Celeste. Once again, this is before the body was even found. It's like everything was hiding in plain sight, and nobody seemed to even bat an eye at it. Here's another screenshot of people in his Discord pointing out that he only seems to add underage girls. So yeah, you're gonna see that people speaking out about David kind of being a weirdo is a common theme here. And in almost every instance of this, they seem to be ignored or completely ridiculed for speaking out about it. The most famous example I can show you of this is this comment that recently surfaced on an old TikTok from a man named Robin River. The comment is from February 2024, and it says, "Waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with a 13-year-old girl." And that comment had been buried in the comment section forever. Nobody had even batted an eye at it, but some detective found it, and now it absolutely blew up. As you can see, it has 150,000 plus likes. Robin River was another person who nobody even paid attention to until now, when it's becoming increasingly evident that David most definitely had to do something with this. Another really chilling video that people looked back on and realized is extremely messed up is this one for a music video called "One More Dance," where, as you can see, a literal body is being placed into the trunk, and then it flashes to this girl, which many people say looks strikingly similar to Celeste. After seeing this music video clip, I lost it. I mean, it's almost like he wanted people to know what he was up to and was just waiting till the moment he gets caught. Not to mention how weird his entire tour looks in hindsight. I mean, he was bringing caskets into the concerts as if he was hosting some sort of funeral. It just piles on, guys. I mean, there's genuinely so much to cover in this video, but the deeper we dive, the more insane it's gonna look. Right here are lyrics to a leaked song by David called Celeste, and as you can see, it's a literal love song about a girl named Celeste. Now, I do think it is worth noting that David apparently had 2 girlfriends named Celeste. One of them was not underage. But even in the case that this song just so happens to be about the other Celeste, there's still way too much evidence that backs up Robin River's claim. I mean, after the cops did an autopsy on Celeste, they found out that she had a tattoo on her finger that said, "Shh." You know who else had that tattoo? David. Romantic Homicide, his biggest hit, that music video was released on Celeste's birthday. Not to mention how many people think the actor in this music video also looks strikingly similar to Celeste. There are even multiple pictures that leaked where David seems to be with this girl, and many of them are from an Instagram account known as Dean Blunt Lover 444. Remember that username, because that account allegedly belonged to Celeste herself. This screenshot from that account of a picture of seemingly two people even has a comment from David, which makes it seem like he was one of the people in there and Celeste was the other. Here are some more videos from that account that clearly show David, and then there's this screenshot which even shows David reposting a picture of him on the Dean Blunt 444 account with this girl. Another wild thing that came out is this picture that leaked online where David is said to be paying off people who know Celeste to not talk about the fact that they were dating. Now, we don't know if this picture is completely false and the whole thing was taken out of context, you know what I mean? But if that is to be true, it would totally match up with what this guy on Reddit was saying about paying C's friends to keep their mouths shut. There's even this article TMZ about that picture that says, according to Google Maps, David was standing 0.3 miles from the home where Celeste Rivas was living with her family before she disappeared back in April 2024. The place David was standing where he's doing some sort of exchange with this kid is a 6-minute walk to Celeste's family home in Lake Elsinore, California. I also find this stream clip very interesting, but also very disturbing, where he seems to be with Celeste, and then this happens.
We need to delete this.
Are we, Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Oh my, delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
After that happened, the stream clip was immediately taken off. It did resurface because someone somehow saved it, but they made sure to delete it like right after. On top of that, a video surfaced of a teacher claiming to have been Celeste's teacher. And here is what he says.
That's her in my classroom in front of this poster right here. This other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff, but she's been missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. She disappeared again in May of that year. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car.
As you can see in this video, he seems to have referenced that picture from TMZ of David possibly paying Celeste's friend to keep his mouth shut. He states that not only was Celeste in his class, but that kid was also in his class. It seems so clear that something fishy was going on. And that's what honestly makes me so sad about this situation. I feel like enough people knew something dark was going on to the point where all of this could have been avoided. So as all of this is unfolding and new screenshots and videos are coming out by the hour, David hadn't spoken out whatsoever, and honestly he still hasn't, but behind the scenes he has been active. He disabled comments on all of his social media platforms and started removing his TikTok reposts, which, by the way, those TikTok reposts were quite disturbing to say the least. For example, there's this one that says "me if I see her talking to other dudes," and it shows someone chopping up meat. I mean, the list goes on, guys. There is so much to back things up, but the one that really sticks out to me the most is this Genius interview for Romantic Homicide, because looking back on it, he seems like such a psychotic individual when he's speaking.
Where she died in the back of my mind. I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died. Which was in the back of my mind, but then you think that I'm gonna say you died, but I say I killed you. It was something that she did, it was something that I decided to do, and I killed her in the back of my mind.
The way he's like over clarifying that, you know, he only killed her in his mind, not like physically, but only in his mind. So guys, I didn't kill her physically, like it was in the back of my mind, in my mind. And my car is not named Mind. It wasn't the back of my car. I didn't name my car Mind. Or did I? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But not like a kid, not like a child. I don't mean it like that. So yeah, all of this, in my opinion, is the most interesting evidence tied to the case. Now, keep in mind, whenever I say evidence, I am using that word very, very loosely. That's because, from my understanding, this technically isn't legitimate evidence in a court of law until it's actually confirmed, which is quite a bit of a process. Because, I mean, otherwise he would be arrested by now, right? So let's get into that. Why hasn't David been arrested yet? And when will we possibly see that? A criminologist and professor at Arkansas State University named Kevin Angelo Brown said, "This is often standard operating procedure. The medical examiner needs to confirm that this was a homicide before any official charges are filed. If the findings conclude that it was not a homicide, but a natural death or a suicide, a different route would be needed to charge someone with a crime." He also mentioned that the time between when she was murdered and when the body was found plays a huge part in how easy it is for authorities to arrest him. And as we all know, it took well over a year for them to find the body. Now, the rest of this article gives us some really good insight. It says, investigators are likely testing for DNA, fingerprints, digital communications, and physical traces such as blood. At this stage, experts say most of what authorities have is circumstantial. The matching tattoo, a rumored romantic relationship, and an unreleased song referencing Celeste raise suspicions, but are not evidence of a murder. And while we do seem to have digital communications, we don't really seem to have anything else. And as far as those digital communications we do have go, I'm sure there's a really long, complicated process of actually confirming those communications that has to be, done. I also saw this Reddit thread from someone claiming to be an attorney, and although they could be totally lying out of their ass about being an attorney, I actually do believe them because their reasoning for why he hasn't been arrested honestly seems to be pretty logical and likely in my opinion. They said, "Hi guys, I'm an attorney. I do not practice criminal law, but I got an award for criminal procedure, so I like to think I know a thing or two about it. With a case with this much publicity, there's a lot of pressure on detectives to get this right. That means being thorough. In order to make an arrest, you have to have probable cause that the crime has been committed. This has to be backed by evidence which the DA presents to a judge. They have to track down the source of each photo, of each message, etc., and ensure that it came from the accounts belonging from David and or Celeste, and determine that the messages have not been altered. This takes time and can lead down other little rabbit holes. For example, if they have a lot of evidence from the Dean Bluntlover account, they have to subpoena Snapchat to ensure that this was actually Celeste's account. What's really critical is that if any evidence is obtained without a warrant or on insufficient evidence to obtain a warrant, that evidence is deemed fruit of the poisonous tree and cannot be used at trial. They have very specific rules they have to follow concerning each step of the investigation, and it takes time, especially when most of the evidence that we have is digital and coming from hundreds of accounts. This totally makes sense to me because, you can't just find a Twitter snapshot that was just recently posted and be like, oh, he's guilty, That has to be somewhat verified, even if it looks completely real, which it does. They definitely have David under surveillance so that he can't leave or hurt other people. He probably was told not to leave the country, which is in part why his tour was canceled. The police are dotting their I's and crossing their T's to ensure that David's defense will not be able to have the case dismissed or evidence withheld at trial. You can't just say, looks like he did it. You have to be able to reasonably claim that he caused her death, among other things. If all the evidence they get later is based on unverified sham evidence, it all gets thrown out and David is on the loose. So yeah, I know that's a lot, but honestly, I think it's the best explanation as to why he hasn't actually been arrested yet. Now, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but personally, I 1,000,000% think that he did it. There's no way he didn't, in my opinion. So yeah, if somehow, in the most improbable way, he had nothing to do with the murder, he still deserves to go to jail, but in my opinion, there's no way he didn't at least have some sort of connection to the murder. He either did it or played a part in it. That's how I feel. At the end of the day, no matter who was responsible, the heartbreaking reality is that a 13-year-old girl's life was cut short when it only should have just been beginning. My deepest condolences go out to Celeste's family and friends during this unimaginable time, and I pray that anyone involved in this terrifying act is held accountable. For those who would like to support the family, here is the official GoFundMe that they have set up. I'll also be leaving the link to this in the description of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one.